Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 22nd of November, 2021. Coming up the Crusty podcast, episode 157. Parliamentarians getting back to work after being 2 months off from the last federal election. And in recent news, what about Roger Kotanko? Yes, or Kotenko. Yes, a local gunsmith from Port Dover, Ontario, shot and killed by Toronto Police Services, and the ever-looming eerie investigation to follow. All that more come to the podcast. Please stick around. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worth.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 157 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. Today's episode, parliamentarians getting back to work, and the murder of Roger Kotenko. Yes, a gunsmith from Port Dover, Ontario. Welcome to the show, everybody. I want to say thank you to everyone who reached out to my last episode of my Remembrance Day spiel. Thank you very much to all the warm comments and gestures I received from North America. I'm seeing that my viewership is going up. Thank you once again to everyone who's weighed in and said those kind words. But like I said, I'll never forget, and neither should you, especially anyone who's been affected by war in any circumstance. Anyway, carrying on, episode 157. Listener discretion is advised. I tend to swear and use some unlawful gestures in my shows here. So, 22nd November today, yes, parliamentarians are going back to work finally. And of course, the big dilemmas are the vaccine mandates, the floods that are happening in British Columbia right now as we speak, and other political dogmas that have been plaguing us the past year and a half, ladies and gentlemen. Now, from running in the last federal election, you get some insight on how the political game works and yada, 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 mudslinging, what have you. Now, I'm not personally impressed with a lot of the leadership that has gone on in the past little while from all major parties. Doesn't matter if it's from the Bloc, the Greens, especially the Liberals, the Conservatives, what have you. Because during this past year and a half with the pandemic and everything, it has just been a real, real shit show when it comes to leadership. You've got all three major parties booting out cabinet members, booting out senators, booting out this, booting out that, all because they won't work or walk a certain party line, excuse me, or a certain mandate in the name of the vaccinations, in the name of COVID and all that other good stuff. Now, I've said numerous times before on the show, ladies and gentlemen, if you want the jab, get the jab. If you don't want the jab, don't get the jab. Personal choice, personal whatever, your body, your choice, right? But it seems like every day we turn around, there's a new mandate, not a law, a mandate or a condition or another rule for people to follow. Now, some of the stipulation for people coming back to Parliament, stipulations, correction, plural, is that they have to have proof of vaccination. So basically, show your papers to get back to work. Okay. Now, the average salary of the politicians now is anywhere from $183,000 to $185,000 per year, per annum, okay, which they voted on twice in the past year and a half to increase. And I don't care who got a raise or who didn't get a raise or who gives to charity, who doesn't give to charity. The thing being, a lot of Canadians in this country that lost their jobs over the beer bug, over the mandatory vaccinations in certain jurisdictions, over opinions, over actions, i.e. protesting for freedom of choice and freedom of movement. Now, my biggest concern is when these individuals get back to work is that they're going to be hobgobbling for the next 4 weeks. Then they'll have a Christmas break, and then they'll be off another 6 weeks for Christmas to hobgobble some more, to be seen here, to be seen there. And I'm just so tired of the disingenuous leadership that I'm seeing from all major parties in this country, ladies and gentlemen. What say you? You can please give me your opinion via comment, like, and subscribe, all that good stuff when you see this podcast on YouTube and on Wimkin and on Brighton and on Rumble, respectively. But please consider donating if you can too, ladies and gentlemen. You can find me there, Rumble, Brighty, and Wimkin. And if you do want to donate, you can also find me at crustycanuck.ca. Donations too, please. Anyway, carrying on again. Episode 157 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Yes, I've been away a lot because I'm working a new job. I'm in the agriculture industry. It's a very, very fulfilling job. I'm very happy to have it. I get to drive truck. I get to move a front end loader, and I get to work with cattle. So I'm quite, I'm quite enamored by that. I'm outside most of the day, moving this, moving that, driving around. My days are a bit longer than usual. Needless to say, I'm gainfully employed. It means the lights can be on. I can do this podcast, and there's food in my fridge. And my wife and I are happier getting things on the go, regardless of this past year and a half has affected a lot of us Canucks, a lot of my American friends, British, French, and the world as we see it, ladies and gentlemen, too. Anyway, without digressing even more, carrying on with more of the parliamentary stuff, and I'll be getting up to Roger Kotenko there shortly. But why did it take 2 months, ladies and gentlemen? Why does it take 2 months for, especially after a federal election, whether it was needed or not, whatever the opinion is on whether it was needed or not, because there's nothing really ventured, nothing really gained, just another bad taste in people's mouths since September. And now it's taken 2 months for these clowns to get back to work. Now we've seen the Three Amigos issue that happened in the States with Joe Biden. Camilla, where's my rocky road? And Prime Minister's sock puppet Justin Trudeau and the Mexican leadership. And what kind of deal was reached, honestly? Like, how has Canada benefited from this Three Amigos deal? We still can't get our oil to market because of certain American influences, i.e. the Tides Foundations, Clinton's foundations. Of course, the Liberal stance against the anti-oil issue, even though they do like to drive around in expensive cars and aircraft and telling us minions what to do. Right? And what kind of deal was reached for Canada? You know, did the pint size, you know what, come to any solid conclusion, any solid foundation to help the Canadian economy flourish? No, of course not, because the Liberals and some Conservative members and the Bloc and the Greenies and the NDP are all in cahoots with the secular. We'll just keep printing money to pay off our debt, even though there's no products coming or going as we speak. So when I look at these NAFTA deals that this Liberal government has put together, when I look at these so-called deals to help the Canadian economy, is it really helping you and me out, or is it helping them out? Something to think about, right? You know, it just doesn't. It doesn't flow right. It just doesn't. Doesn't fit. More or less, it's just all bullshit.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Anyhow, carrying on again with back to work. Now, are they actually going to do any work this time around, ladies and gentlemen? Are parliamentarians actually going to get together and work on some kind of real deal here, some real, understanding? Now, as far as I know, they still want to keep pushing the bill C-36, which apparently died in the summertime, but they're going to try to regurgitate it again, to stop the whole anti-online hate speech. We can't say hateful things to people because it might hurt someone's feelings. You can't criticize politicians for doing a terrible job. Can't criticize leaders for doing a terrible job, especially if they're female, because they might have a good cry or something like that and just not be able to cope and deal with the consequences of their bullshit. Last time I checked, that's part of being an adult, learning how to accept and take responsibility for yourself, good and or bad. But of course, we have to lighten the load and make sure everyone's comfortable, right? Make that sure that, all these politicians who are making a lot of money at your expense and my expense are sitting comfortably dictating terms of our existence, right? So when I look at the NAFTA deals and the Three Amigo deals that have come around, what kind of deal came for Canada? Something to think about, right? Honestly, what kind of sound conclusion did they come up with? As informative as that might have been, I don't really see any conclusion. Now, they're still protesting Wet'suwet'en because there were 2 journalists that were apprehended by the police services, right? And I'm not against any police service arresting any journalist unless said journalist, broke the law. But then again, it's obviously a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, I personally don't care what the point of view of certain journalists are, whatever. You can read the newspaper, not read the newspaper, read the article, not read the article, and do counterpoints and write letters to the editor, all that good stuff, just like we were taught as children. But it seems like now there's always this victim mentality when it comes to someone being apprehended or being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, big news in the States right now is the whole Rittenhouse issue. He's not guilty because he shot 3 people dead at a protest. Now, for those individuals that have weighed in and pulled the race card and everything like that, it wasn't a racist issue, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't. And regardless of how you personally feel about guns and the gun laws in the United States, let America do its thing. Okay? Let America do its thing. I for one, am getting so sick and tired of hearing about the whole Rittenhouse issue. It's like, okay, he was a kid, he was armed, he was allowed to have said gun because, well, he followed the law, apparently, and he wasn't deemed guilty. And those individuals that he shot and or killed, they had a pretty nasty track record on their own, too. I think one of them was an actual legitimate pedophile, if I'm not mistaken. So when it comes to that, I think Mr. Rittenhouse did that area a favor, right? Because the only justice I see for pedophiles, personally, is death, okay? I don't care what the science goes into or the nouveau science that's being projected now, especially with these clowns that say minor attracted persons and other watered down BS. Okay. So when it comes to Rittenhouse, fine. Justice was served as far as I'm concerned. No one deserves to die in a riot. No one deserves to die in a protest. But then again, we've seen context and words being treated as if it was bad gas, rather than telling the truth. Okay. We've seen nothing but these uprisings and these riots, and to all these figureheads that weigh in, all these media moguls, other podcasters and other so-called diversity and inclusion experts talking about violence and violence. Oh my God. Let's take a look at some of the values that some of them promote too, kind of like our parliamentarians when it comes to dividing people over the vaccine or not having the vaccine. Instead of telling people how it is and what's going on, let's just keep creating a new narrative to make everything so lovey-dovey, right? When the reality is you keep telling people what to do, you keep backing people into corners. What do you expect? You're either going to get submission or people are going to start biting.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Anyway, carrying on too, when these clowns get back to work, let's just hope they actually try to promote something other than more division. Okay, now Mr. O'Toole is on the spot right now because he let a senator go because she was questioning his leadership integrity per se. Now, there's some shadow cabinet ministers that are still standing their ground. Pierre Poilievre, Michelle Rempel, Candice Bergen standing the high ground, looking after what I personally think is right for Canadians, the economy, getting people back to work, letting people have their freedoms again to flourish and to thrive as they should. However, I'm still not seeing leadership on Mr. O'Toole's side. And we can all write off the leadership on Justin Trudeau's side, and the Bloc to me doesn't matter. And the NDP, of course, Mr. Jagmeet Singh is going to follow every step and hold on to every heartbeat and every word that Justin says, right? Because we have to tax those 40 billionaires in this country. And we have to tax those rich bastards, eh? We have to give them a real go for their money, eh? Yeah, when you guys suck it all up and print it left and right for the sake of virtue and not for reality. Anyway, that's enough of my spiel about the whole parliamentary thing. We'll have to see some results, hopefully, because, they'll try to get something done and then they'll break for Christmas for about, 6 or 7 weeks. Then they'll come back to work and feel all lovey-dovey again and try to tell you and me again what to do with our money. Anyway, carrying on. Roger Kotenko, a gentleman out of Port Dover, Ontario, or the area. 70 years old, a registered gunsmith in Canada. Did some work and had contracts with some of the local police services, did some work for military members, did a lot of gunsmithing for sport shooters, Canada, America, had a quite the business resume when it come to working on guns in this country. Now, for those of you who don't know, those of you who've listened to my show and don't understand how the gunsmithing process works in Canada, you're treated just like a gun owner. Well, technically, you are a gun owner, and you're constantly vetted by the provincial chief firearms officer all the time. So you got to have a squeaky clean record. You got to be good to go. You can't break any laws, no domestic issues, no nothing. You basically got to be an all-around decent fucking human being. And of course, you got to be qualified to be a gunsmith as a gun owner, as well as someone who can repair guns, fix guns, and in some cases, even make them too. And it's quite the interesting trade, ladies and gentlemen, when you think about it, because you're taught the finer points of machining. You're taught the finer points of metals and what metal can be used here and what can be used there and what can't be used here, how to machine, how to be precise, and all that good stuff. And here's a gentleman, 70 years old, out of the Port Dover area in Ontario, was literally gunned down by the Toronto Police Service emergency response team. To my American listeners, that's the equivalent to SWAT. Now, I'll leave links in the description for you all to follow. There's quite the intense press conference that come out of that area from the family lawyer of Mr. Kotenko, but he was literally gunned down November 3rd. Now, I'll summarize. There was a story, or not a story, there was a warrant that was issued for his arrest for some reason. Now, nobody's seen this magical warrant. Now, where he was living, it was approximately or roughly 130, 150 kilometers away from Toronto Police Services jurisdiction. Now, what I don't understand about this story is that here's a guy in Port Dover, Ontario, around the Hamilton area, lives that far outside of Toronto. What is the Toronto ERT teams doing raiding a house 150 miles out of their jurisdiction? What is the purpose of that? Okay. Now, nobody in his family, not even the family's attorneys, have seen said warrant that was issued. Okay. And according to the video and to the stories from the CBC, the gunblog.ca, and other affiliates, nothing has ever been, promoted, or nothing has been presented. There's this magical warrant that was never presented in light of this case. There was nothing presented to the family or the family's attorneys. Okay. And he was shot 4 times by an officer of the ERT team. 4 times. Apparently 3 times in the chest and 1 time in the neck. Now, what gets me is here's a guy who is contracted and vetted through the legal system over and over again. Yours truly here is a gun owner. Of course, I'm constantly vetted. And what happened? What did this guy do? Like, was he associated with some kind of group, conglomerate? Was he selling illegal parts? Was he selling guns? We don't know. And this happened on the 3rd of November, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. This man was gunned down. Apparently, his wife was detained by an officer roughly 2 to 3 minutes before the 4 shots were fired. Right. Apparently, the OPP in that area was not told of any kind of raid or any kind of situation coming around. So there was no communication between the OPP in that area and the Toronto Police Services. Right. And apparently, the Ontario chief firearms officer refuses to comment on this situation so far. So like I said, I'll leave links in the description for you guys to follow and watch the video from your side for yourself. But there was no answers given. And of course, the Special Investigations Unit, those are the people in basically every major police force that investigates the lawful or the unlawful killing of a suspect or a individual that's apprehended by any police service. Now, this man wasn't apprehended. Now, apparently there was a customer in his shop at the time with him just prior to the so-called quote-unquote raid. Now, no one's heard about this customer or heard anything from this said customer yet. So, something to think about. And the more I read about this story, the dirtier it seems, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this guy doesn't look like to be a threat. And I've worked with gunsmiths and I've worked in gun shops. And every aspect of that is constantly vetted, not just by the federal authorities, but by provincial authorities too. So everybody knows exactly what you're doing, what you're selling, what you're capable of, what you own, right? And as a gunsmith, of course, you're constantly vetted because you have the ability to make or break said firearms, to enhance said firearms, just in case if you decide you wanted to. Now, I'm not saying gunsmiths would do that. You know, every gunsmith that I have talked to throughout my life has always been a stable and honest stand-up citizen, right? Who understand the fundamentals of firearms and the safety of firearms and the respect and the care it takes to make them, break them, repair them, and to look after them. Just the same as any mechanic would looking after a car, or a diesel mechanic would looking after a diesel engine, whether it be small, medium, heavy, or compact, or what have you. And the more I read about this guy, the more I was getting angry, because we all know how the Liberal government wants to keep kicking gun owners to the curb, keep putting people down who are associated with said firearms, and yet not looking at the real problems, i.e. the gun, the gangs and that bring the bad guns into Canada, the people that have the insight and the information on how guns come into Canada illegally. And here's a guy, 7 years old, minding his own business, running his own shop, talking with a potential or an alleged customer of some sort, and now that customer is gone. Where is he or she? Right? Like I say, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave links in the description in regards to this whole story. But what gets me is that this is not a really big national news story. It was on CBC briefly. Gun enthusiasts from the National Firearms Association and the CCFR and gunblog.ca probably put some more in-depth story and more detail into these stories, because it affects not just Canadian gun culture, but people's freedom, right? If it's easy enough for the police services to react and act upon a little guy like this, just a regular gunsmith who's had a great resume, an excellent reputation, according to his family and friends, and people that have worked with him throughout his community, who's to say they're going to knock on my door one day, or your door, if you're a gun owner, right? And pop 4 rounds into your chest? Who's to say that's not going to happen? Something to think about, eh? Right? And I personally know police officers that are gun owners themselves, and they're not violent people. And I've said numerous times in the show, ladies and gentlemen, I do have a lot of respect for police officers because they put their asses on the line every effing day. And regardless of the trend that's happening in both of our countries in regards to, oh, we have to defund the police, we have to defund this, we're not helping the situation. Now, I'd like to know exactly what was TPS's motivation in regards to taking this man out. Right? Why doesn't the public know what's going on? Like, was this guy associated with something? Was he associated with an organized crime? Was he procuring and selling weapons to third world countries? What was he doing? And based on what I've read, he wasn't doing much except minding his own business and running his business as anybody should. So I think somebody royally screwed up someplace, or somebody royally acted on fear rather than fact.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
So I ask again, ladies and gentlemen, what exactly happened to Roger Kotenko? Like, was he a bad dude or not? Like I say, I'll leave for submitted for your approval, of course. Links in the description. You can read along and watch the videos there too, especially the press conference that the family lawyer put together. And he makes a valid point. So where's this magical warrant? Where's this warrant that was written by whatever justice in Toronto? Because it was the Toronto Police Service that drove to Port Dover to apprehend or arrest this individual. Okay. And apparently they had their own ambulance, their own paramedics with them too. I can understand that from a tactical point of view. You bring your own medical teams with you in case something happens. But I just find it odd, don't you? I find it really, really odd that here's an individual running a business, minding his own business, doing his thing, had a great reputation through through word of mouth, based on his family, his friends, his acquaintances, the work he has done with local police authorities and military members and sport shooters alike. All of a sudden, gunned down like a common criminal, just like that. And for what? Right? I'm assuming there'll be more details coming in the next few weeks, but according to a lot of the reports and the faith that family and friends of this gentleman have in the media and in the services, they're not going to hear an answer for a few months yet, or maybe another year. We're not going to know. We're not going to find out. So to my gun owner friends out there, should we be a little apprehensive? I'm not encouraging anybody to break the law. I'm not encouraging anybody to stand your ground. But what are our options? If this can happen to a gentleman in Port Dover, Ontario, a sleepy town in Ontario, basically, well, can it happen out here in Alberta? Can it happen in BC too? When they had that big gun grab in 2011, when they had the High River floods, in the name of protecting people, right? Just snatching and grabbing people's property while their houses are being flooded. Something to think about, isn't it? Right? And regardless of what's going on in BC right now and what's going on in Alberta and Quebec and Ontario and Canada wide, we still have to maintain a certain level of sanity, ladies and gentlemen, and question the powers that be that pull this shit together. Really. I don't think that Mr. Kotenko was a threat, regardless of what intelligence has been given to us as the public to view. I don't think was any kind of viable threat. He might have told some police officer to fuck off one day. Well, okay. Well, shit. I've told numerous people to fuck off. I'm still here. So who knows? It just, something's not right with that story at all, ladies and gentlemen. Something's not right. And you, my viewers and listeners, let us try to find the truth in that, shall we?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And needless to say, my condolences to the family and friends of Mr. Roger Kotenko. According to more of the media that came out based on the Toronto Sun article and CBC, he was planning retirement with his wife, and they're just going to probably just live a decent life in peace and happiness, as anyone should. However, that was snuffed out in the name of fear. That's my speculation. And again, I'll ask, why did the Toronto Police Service ERT team have to drive 130, 150 kilometers to apprehend this individual, right? Wouldn't the OPP in that area be responsible for that, you would think? Wouldn't any other authority in that area be responsible for that? Right? What was so important about nailing this guy? Did he have some inside information on something? Right? Were there some members of the Toronto Police Service doing something naughty, perhaps? Ew. I guess we'll never know, won't we? Yeah. So like I said, there'll be descriptions and a link for you all to follow and read along on your own leisure, of course. But anyway, carrying on again, too, with Ottawa getting back to work. Once again, my condolences to the Kotanko family. My sincerest condolences, especially the individuals in BC right now going through a hard time with the floods. But what gets me is how when Ottawa's getting back to work, they're going to keep pushing more of this mandate of this climate emergency stuff and all that, too. And I remember seeing footage from 1990 where a lot of the roads in BC were still covered with floods and what have you, too, every fall and every spring. I'm not making less of the situation. Not at all. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad for what's going on there. But if you honestly believe that these floods and these catastrophes are due to climate change, then I think you're sadly mistaken. I think it's just a matter of erosion, and I think it's a matter of bad building in certain locations. But that's just my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm not making light or making fun of those individuals and those farmers who have lost their homes and their welfare, their livelihoods because of engineering and civics mistakes. But we can do better than constantly live in fear, ladies and gentlemen, over these dire situations that have been basically brought to us by our leadership in this country. So it's something to ponder there, too. I don't know what else to say other than tilt my hat and hope for the best and prepare for the worst. I don't wish that kind of devastation on anybody, other than if you're a creepy pedophile or a lazy politician that lives a life of larceny on the expense of others. But to those good people in British Columbia, my heart goes out to you, and to the family and friends of Mr. Roger Kotenko. my heart and my condolences go out to you all too. And let us find the truth in these matters as well. Now, we'll see today what Justin might have planned. I try to watch Yagmeet Singh talk about his plan today. I wanted to puke. I don't know. I just every time I try to listen to this man or Justin or anybody else for that matter too, the whole issue with the Green Party, the whole issue with the Bloc, I just don't feel good. I just don't feel good about what they have to say. And every one of them don't have much to say when it comes to our veterans and to our seniors in this country. Their biggest concern is the $10 child care or getting the vaccines rolled out or making sure that everyone has their papers before they report to work every day in Parliament. You have all? Yes. Yeah, do you got your papers? Do you have your shots? Do you have your jabs? Well, no jabby jab, no jobby job. Yes, okay. I think you see where I'm getting at here with this too. Priorities are all sort of screwed up, all fucked up on every other parameter. I'm not seeing any more progress from these leaders who talk about progress. I just see and hear a lot of this. Over and over again, ladies and gentlemen. But we can do better. But like I say to my friends and listeners out there too, thank you once again for the lovely comments I've received in my last video. I think I received about 21, 22. I'm not sure, but something's wrong with the algorithm. I keep seeing these subscribers and then not seeing other subscribers. So like I say too, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow me, you can also follow me on Rumble, Brightian, and Wimkin too. Every time I load a video, I try to load it on those 3 sites. So you can follow me there as well. You can click like, subscribe, and comment too. And please don't be shy to comment and subscribe as well. I'd love to hear what you and see what my listeners want to say. I like to read the comments. So please don't be shy. Comment and share this all around your social media platforms if you can too. Help us independent folk get our words out there so people have a choice. People can listen to what they want and formulate their own decisions and their own thoughts as they should, ladies and gentlemen. And if you do like what you hear and see, like I say, please click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'm still doing that t-shirt offer too, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still doing a lot of t-shirts and mugs offer too. If you donate, let's say $10 or more a month to my patron at podbean.com/Crusty Canuck, you can be entered to win a coffee mug. It comes in red and black, Crusty Canuck coffee mug there too. So please consider donating $10 or more a month and you'll be entered in a draw to win yourself a fancy coffee mug of the Crusty Canuck podcast. If you don't want a mug, well, you can grab yourself the customized t-shirt from Customized Girl. Just enter $5 per month. I'll draw your name at the end of the month. And patreon.podbean.com. Donate there for your Crusty Canuck t-shirt. So, and if you don't want to do that, just go to my links you'll find in the description. And I got lots of Crusty Canuck swagger there for you. And good men and ladies out there to choose from at your own leisure. Like I said, my work schedule now, I'm usually doing 10 days on and then 4 days off. So I try to do the podcast during my 4-day off period, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to do the podcast more often, but because of my work schedule, this is what we get for now. But if you do like and hear what you see, please share the wealth, spread the video and my words of wisdom out at random too. Like I say, carrying on again too with the Roger issue. I'm still shaking my head on that. I just, something's not right. Something does not feel right about that. And I'm not impressed. Like I said, I know a lot of good police officers, stand-up citizens, family men, family women. Some are ex-soldiers. Some have done their deed for king and queen and country. And some don't need the stereotype. And rightfully so. But when you read a story about a special response unit or emergency response team driving 130, 150 kilometers to apprehend one individual, it would make you think there's something else going on. Regardless if he's a gunsmith or not, of course, there's going to be guns around. He has a gun shop. I've been in gunsmith shops. There are gun parts all over the place. There's machinery out there on how to lathe and how to cut and how to manufacture certain parts, how to repair certain parts. So it's like going to any other shop. It's just you have firearms around instead of pieces of a transmission or pieces of an alternator or any kind of part thereof, you're finding more gun parts around. So I'm going to really stress to my listeners out there, especially my Canadian listeners too, really think hard about what's going to happen the next couple of months, especially when this investigation starts displaying more information. That's if they do allow it or not, but that's up to you, my readers and listeners alike out there, to figure out too. But I don't know. There's something shady about this deal. Something shady about what happened to Mr. Kotenko. And something really shady, I think, is going to happen with Ottawa when they go back to work today, right? That all depends if Justin wants to show up or if Freeland wants to show up, right? In his nouveau cabinet of 50-50 parity and other political bullshit. But we'll leave that for time to decide. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 22nd of November, 2021. Christmas is upon us. And to my American listeners out there, happy Thanksgiving, happy Turkey Day. To all my wonderful American fans and listeners out there and my friends, get your stuffing in, get your birds in, get your cranberry sauce, get your pecan pies and your sweet potato pies, all that good stuff. Get all the trimmings and fixings, have a few beers, watch some good American football, and just chill out and be thankful that you got neighbors to the north of you that are backing you up 100%. We will find light at the end of this manufactured darkness, ladies and gentlemen. And like I say, if you like and hear what you see, please click like, subscribe, and don't forget to comment, especially on my Wimkin page, Brightian, Rumble, and of course my YouTube page too. Help the algorithm as independent folk get out there. And be critical, folks. Let's keep promoting the critical thought. Let's keep asking the tough questions. Let's get the answers out there. Let's get the answers out there for everyone to know, and the truth will shine. Truth will prevail. If you feel like donating, please don't hesitate to donate. You can find me on PayPal, buy me a coffee application. Just go to thecrustycanuck.ca/donations, donate at will. And there's links to my shop where you can buy some Crusty Canuck swagger and some gear, t-shirts, hats, mugs, stickers, swimsuits, shorts, all that good stuff. So please consider that today too. And like I said, my schedule, my work schedule takes me away, so I will not be having an episode every week as per, but I'll try to get more information up to you. Just follow my updates on YouTube and Facebook alike, and we can go from there, ladies and gentlemen. Like I say, once again, thank you very much to all those kind comments I've had in my last video. It's because of viewers and listeners such as yourself that make this podcast what it's worth. So keep fighting the good fight, people, and let's find the light at the end of this darkness. That's been brought to us by our leaders. But like I always say, do what you can to help your friends out in these trying times. To my American listeners and friends, do what you can to help your neighbors out this Thanksgiving season. You know, give a few bucks here and that to your local Legion. Help some veterans out, help some seniors out. My area, there's some snow, so don't hesitate to help a neighbor out by shoveling some snow, making a clear pathway for their vehicle every day when they go to work, all that good stuff. Just little gestures of kindness that go a long way, ladies and gentlemen. Like I say, look after your friends and loved ones. Do what you can to help each other to the best of your ability. And remember, humanity and merit wins the day. And I'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Take care. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.